Hey guys, how are you all doing? So, I'm going to do it, the dyno video that I keep talking about doing and I just haven't got round to. So I get asked all the time, why don't I run a dyno and how do I get away without running a dyno? So I want to say the first things first is that I'm not a hater of dynos. I think they are very good. I've never used one before, but a lot of, close friends that are into bikepacking have done and touring, and they really rate them. So I, take their opinion, I really value that, and say, don't let this video put you off ever buying a dyno. So why do I not use a dyno? So the reason is because I like to use really good wheels. So I'm using the new Dura-Ace 9170s at the minute. They're carbon, they're quick, they're light, they make the climbing super easy, and I absolutely just love them because they can absolutely take a hammering. So carbon's come a long way in time that wheel sets have got very good, and you can use racing wheel sets for, these kind of long trips and on gravel and things like that. With a dyno, so a dyno is in a little hub on your front wheel, and normally they actually put this into an aluminium wheel, so you're taking a bit of extra weight there, and normally the actual dyno is quite heavy as well, but on top of that, when you're charging stuff, that adds resistance to your wheels, so the power has to come from somewhere. And this is fantastic that you can charge things on the go, and I know the wattage is very minimal on what you're taking, but for me, someone who stays in a hotel every few days normally, I don't really see the need. If I can last with power and run really good rims for 3 days, then I'll just do that and I won't kind of take anything away from my riding. So how do I get away with it? So firstly, let's talk about what you need the dyno for. So, or the battery power, the battery, I've forgotten what they're called. Battery power banks, the power banks, that's it. So what do you need to power? So your Garmin, that's probably the most important thing for your navigation. On top of that, your phone, you're kind of going to need a phone so you can contact people and go on Facebook and stuff, track leaders. And your lighting, so there's my front light, and I run 2 rears. You can see when your front goes out, you can't see when your rear goes out. Safety is key on any kind of bikepacking, guys, it's really important. Okay, so first things first, lighting. Power banks and things like that. So this is the Cat Eye Volt 800. It's a very good light, and I really highly rate it, by the way, but I'm not sponsored or associated or affiliated with them in any way. I'll just say that right now. Okay, so that's everything we need to charge, and how are we going to charge it? We use power banks. So these are Anchors. This is a 5,000 milliamp Anchor power bank. Anchor's a very good American brand. I really rate them. IQ charging, so things charge very quickly. You're probably going to say, why am I only have one 5,000 milliamp? I don't, I have 3. And you're probably thinking, am I being cheap and just buying the smaller ones? No, I'm not. So if you buy a 15,000 milliamp one, that's going to take 12 hours to charge. If you buy a 5,000 milliamp, then that's going to take 4 hours to charge. So you can charge these a lot quicker if they're in separate blocks. Okay, you're probably taking like an extra 50 grams, but trust me, for 8 hours waiting, I'll take the extra 50 grams. On top of that, I take this as well. This is a 3,000 milliamp battery, but it is a Cat Eye one, so it goes with the light. So, like going back to my light, this is a Volt 800, fantastic light, full stop, and it's got removable cartridge batteries, okay? So, you can charge your light on your actual light itself, and on top of that, you can actually buy this little case here, and you can use this to charge your phone, or you can charge this and use it for your light. So it becomes a really multi-purpose tool. Okay, so thinking about charging everything else, here I have 15,000 milliamps, and there another 3,000, and there another 3,000, so 21,000 milliamps. That's a lot, and that's a very little weight that I'm taking there as well, knowing that I'm taking power banks. Okay, so one of my lights is battery powered, that's very important. The other one is USB, and this normally lasts about 4 days, normally, so I kind of roughly gauge, because I use the equipment so much. Garmin, probably every 12 hours that needs charging, but it's very minimal. So I can normally last 3 days on these power banks and these 2 light banks as well, as long as I'm running my light at, quite a low setting, as long as it's not on full blast. Normally I run at about 200 lumens, and that seems to get away with it. It's very simple. So whenever I go to a hotel, or I'm going to be in a cafe a while, or I need to sleep, I need to charge these. So the easiest way of doing that is I actually use one of these. I got given this, but you can pick them up for about £5. So it's kind of a charger. It does Europe, UK, everything. So let's just say we're in Europe. You know, you plug that in. It's got 4 USB ports. That's really important. And then let's go through the cables. So the only drawback of having this is you do have to carry a lot of cables, which is a shame. So for example, when I come to find a place to charge, you know, I'll run, that's actually a Garmin cable. I'll use all these cables and I will literally just charge everything. The most important things will be these here, and then obviously I've got some bits left over. So I use kind of, you can get these little splits, so it's one USB and it comes out to all these different little things as well. You know, and then you can charge all that up, and obviously you can't charge them all, but you can charge the majority, and then you can use these to charge while you're on the go. But it normally lasts me about 3 days, to be fair. One thing that I really will give advice when it comes to charging and dyno and stuff like that is, guys, just try and keep the power down where you can. So you're going to laugh at me for saying this, but like, I'm using an old Garmin Edge 810, you know, barely uses any power. It's fantastic, you know. Lezyne Rear Light, it uses nothing. It lasts for about 4 days. And, you know, take this out of charge. I put lithium-ion batteries in it. I think it's been going for probably about the last, I don't know, 6 months without changing it. But, you know, you just have to keep things low and just try not to use it as much. So this, my phone here, so this is an iPhone, this is a 5S, you know, it's not anything fancy. The bigger ones, they have really big batteries and they will just rip through these, they really will. But if you're using a 5S or a 4S while you're racing, they use, you know, you can charge these up and you get 3 or 4 charges out of one single one of them on an iPhone. You know, that's a lot. So guys, the reason I get away with it is because, you know, I ride smart. I use small power banks. I charge them very quickly, you know, using the cables as a 4-hour charge. You know, I use battery powered light there, 1 USB. You know, I use an old Garmin, I use an old phone. I know it's not the most high-tech setup in the world and you have to carry these cables, but it works and it powers everything. It's a fantastic way of doing it. And like I say, I've got nothing against dynos, but this just works well for me. And every 3 days I always see a hotel because I quite like to have a wash every so often and a good night's rest, and that really helps me ride a lot. And now I can run carbon wheels because of carrying all this, but that is the bulk of the weight of what I have to take.